I don't even know why I still have my mask on. Hi, everybody. We are so excited to be back. December was a pretty wild month, just very busy. And then we had days off for holidays. We are happy to be here. And by we, I mean me and Bridget, who makes all of this possible. We're so excited. Um, all right, so I wanted to dedicate this episode to all the books that we loved in 2020. Um, I did a little survey and I was going to do a little Instagram post, but there were many books and there were no repeat answers. So I thought I would just mention them all here. So, as we know, 2020 was interesting. And so far, this year is pretty interesting. But let's talk about some things that made us happy, some things that brought us a little bit of joy in 2020. So, um, lots of people voted. Thank you so much if you put in your vote. We certainly appreciate that. So let's just jump. Wow, I was looking at something. It's fine. Let's jump right in into our favorite books. A lot of our favorites came out in March, which I think is interesting because that's when everything was shutting down, and of course, the library was closed as well. The first book that we have up blew up all over Instagram. I saw it everywhere. And I do believe it's the third book by Glennon Doyle, her third memoir, Untamed. In this one, she writes about the ways in which she was caged by internalized misogyny, religious doctrine, and homophobia, an eating disorder that started in her early adolescence, alcoholism, and what became a performative marriage. Several people I know read this book and loved it. We have 2 copies in the library, as well as the audiobook. So be sure to grab all of these books. I'm sure that these were all picked for a good reason. And at the end, I'm going to talk about a couple of my favorite books from 2020 as well. The next one we have is The Book of Lost Friends by Lisa Wingate. This one came out in April. It is the dramatic and hopeful story of 3 young women searching for family amid the destruction of the post-Civil War South, and of a modern-day teacher who learns of their story and its vital connection to her students' lives. And I do believe we have every single one of these books in the library as well. The next one, I had to Google how to say it. So, A Paragon by Colin McCann. This book came out in February, and it's based on the true story of a friendship between an Israeli father and a Palestinian father, a friendship between 2 men who were raised to hate each other, and from that there formed the shared grief of 2 fathers. Right before this episode, I saw that Steven Spielberg has acquired, I guess, the rights to this book. So maybe, I don't know how true that is. I just saw it on YouTube when I was looking up how to say it. So perhaps there is a movie. This is like TMZ level, maybe gossip, but it sounds pretty good. Next we have the prequel, and I can't remember the first book, but it's Ken Follett, The Evening and the Morning. This book came out in September, and it is 997 CE, the end of the Dark Ages. England is facing attacks from the Welsh in the west and the Vikings in the east. Those in power bend justice according to their will, regardless of ordinary people, and often in conflict with the king. Without a clear rule of law, chaos reigns. And this book follows 3 characters. There is a young boat builder, a Norman noblewoman, and a monk, and all of their stories intertwine to tell this tale. In September, The Bridge by Bill Koenigsberg was released. I didn't know too much about this, but it has like a really interesting a plot. So Aaron and Tilly don't know each other, but they are both feeling suicidal and arriving at the George Washington Bridge at the same time, intending to jump. Aaron is a gay misfit struggling with depression and loneliness, and Tilly isn't sure what her problem is, only that she will never be good enough. On the bridge, there are four things that could happen. Aaron jumps and Tilly doesn't. Tilly jumps and Aaron doesn't. They both jump, or neither of them jump. Or maybe all four things happen. In this astonishing and insightful novel. Now I have to read this. Or maybe all four things happen. That's wild. Gotta read it. So this next one actually won the Goodreads Best Romance Book of 2020. This also came out in March. It's From Blood and Ash by Jennifer Armentrout. Chosen from birth to usher in a new era, Poppy's life has never been her own. The life of the maiden in solitary. Never to be touched, never to be looked upon, never to be spoken to, never to experience pleasure, waiting for the day of her accession. She would rather be with the guards, fighting back the evil that took her family, than preparing to be found worthy by the gods, but the choice has never been hers. I've heard a lot about this book, and I'm not crazy about romances. We've talked about this before. I think I might want to listen to this book. It sounds pretty good. And it was voted by Goodreads. That means lots of people read it and they seem to like it. This book came out in July. It's Sanctum by Hannah Mcbride. A life she thought only existed in dreams is now within reach. Barely escaping with her life, Skye Markham and her mother flee their sadistic pack and seek sanctuary within Blackwater. Against all odds, Skye tries to create a new life for herself. A life she thought only existed in dreams is now within reach. I think I know who voted for that book, and she couldn't stop talking about how much she liked it. So I might want to give that a go as well. This book, a lot of controversy. I think that might be why it was so popular, because everyone wanted to read it. You can look this up yourself. I won't go into it here, but American Dirt by Janine Cummings is the story of Lydia Quixano Perez. She lives a comfortable life in Acapulco, Mexico, with her journalist husband Sebastian and her 8-year-old son Luca. Lydia runs a bookstore and one day befriends a charming customer, Javier, who appears to have similar interests in books. However, Javier is revealed to be the kingpin of a drug cartel. Because why not? Sebastian publishes a profile exposing Javier's crimes, who then orders the slaughter of Sebastian and his family. Lydia and Luca escape the massacre, but are forced to flee Mexico, becoming two of the countless undocumented immigrants from Latin America who undertake the dangerous journey to the United States, taking a treacherous trip on La Bastia, north of Mexico City. Someone just took that out yesterday and they were so excited to read it, which is great. We love that. Sarah Blake came out with a guest book this year, which was released in May. And it tells the story of 3 generations of the Miltons, an old money family who summer on their own island off the coast of Maine, because we all do that, right? And the secrets that they keep. They always have secrets, don't they? Buried secrets that eventually come to light for a painful reckoning. I just put this book back on the shelves, I think, at the beginning of the week. So it is currently in the library if you'd like to come read it. The next book, I think, is the 3rd in the series from Hilary Mantel. I don't know if the series has a name. It's not coming to mind, but it's the whole Henry VIII, Anne Boleyn, and then Thomas Cromwell. But The Mirror and the Light, and I've talked about this book too. We have the audiobook, it has many discs. But this covers the period following the death of Anne Boleyn in 1536. It documents Cromwell's ascent to the pinnacle of his riches and power, followed by his fall from royal favor and his public execution at Tower Hill in 1540. Into Tower Hill. That's fun. The last book is a young adult graphic novel. And I think this is the first book that was voted. It's Dragon Hoops by Jean Luen Yang. This also came out March 17th, the day after everything shut down. And it follows the real-life Bishop O'Dowd Dragons, an Oakland high school basketball team, in its quest to win the California State Championship. So those are all the books that were voted, that were published in 2020. There were many books that people read this year that they loved but weren't from 2020. Some of them were, the Ivan book. You know that Ivan book that kids love? The Mighty Ivan? Mighty Ivan. That was picked as a choice. And The Gown. So I want to talk about that now for all the books that I read or listened to in December and that last piece of November. So this month we rescheduled the book club from last month because December just got away from us. So we rescheduled The Gown, which was our book club choice for December. It's now in January. Tuesday the 26th, 7 p.m. Join us. We have such a fun group, and it's my favorite day of the month. I love talking about all the books that we read. So read The Gown, so good. But of course it is. I love historical fiction, and this was just a very lovely story that switches between three women. Two of them are friends, and the other one is a granddaughter of one of those friends. And it just weaves the history of how Queen Elizabeth's wedding dress was made. The two women are embroiderers for this dress, and it's just a lovely story and multi-generational. I loved it. Yes. My favorite book that I read in 2020 is from 2020. I didn't look up. Oh, it came out in November. It's called After All I've Done by Mina Hardy. This book was so good that I literally gasped at the twist when I was listening to it, and when it was done, I clapped. I loved it so much. So it's about this woman who is in a car accident, and she like loses her memory for like a month. So she doesn't know the time leading up to the accident and not too much after that. So in the months, this is about 5 months after her accident, she's like starting to remember things, having dreams, finds out that her husband is cheating on her with her best friend, and just things are super shady, and you think the story goes in 1,000 different ways, and you're convinced that, you know, one thing happened, but it's totally different. You will never expect the ending. I loved it so much. I recommended it to just someone who was looking for a thriller, and I was like, please read this book. It's so good. I read a lot of good books or listened to them this month. I just get really excited. The other book that I loved, I just finished last week when I was on my vacation, is Sherlock Holmes and the Beast of the Stapletons. This is by James Lovegrove. I read Sherlock Holmes and the Christmas Beast the beginning of 2020, and I absolutely adored that. I love his storytelling, and I love Sherlock Holmes books, and I just picture, you know, Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman just running through these books, and God, I love it. So yeah, come pick that up. The next one is a young adult book. I love young adult now. This one was The Surprising Power of a Good Dumpling, and it follows a daughter of Chinese immigrants in Australia. And her dad runs a Chinese restaurant like an hour and a half away from their house. Excuse me. And her mother suffers from a mental disorder. I just think she's bipolar and like clinical depression. And it's just how her, as a teenager, and her younger siblings just navigate the waters of dad being gone all the time and mom just being in bed for weeks at a time. So I loved it. If you're hungry, don't listen to this book because they talk about all my favorite foods. But it was lovely and it was written really well. And that's by Wei Chim. I listened to Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. Des recommended this book for me. It's very short. It is on Hoopla. And I want to say it's a cute little story, but I don't know why it would be cute. It just follows this lady who's, spent most of her adult life working at a convenience store in Japan, and all of her friends are like, why aren't you married? Like, what are you doing? So there's a lot of pressure from her friends, and she's just like, I'm happy with what I'm doing. And a guy that she works with at the convenience store ends up moving in with her. And just, I wouldn't say chaos ensues, but they run into a couple of problems, but her friends see this as like a solution. It's a nice story. So I'm almost about to finish my first Maisie Dobbs book by Jacqueline Winspear. This one is Journey to Munich. I've talked about this 1,000 times in the past, but I love to do the Bookish First. They're on Instagram, like monthly bingo that they do. And I picked this one because they're like a book that starts with J. So I picked Journey to Munich. And it was off to a slow start. This is my first Maisie Dobbs book, like I just said. And it's really picking up now. I'm really enjoying it. I'm looking forward to finishing it tonight on my drive home. I would pick it up. I love women in the early 20th century, like solving crimes and fighting Nazis. Big fan of that. So, depending on how this ends, I might be a new Maisie Dobbs fan. I know she is very popular here and she goes out all the time. So, that's anyways, for the plot of that is Maisie Dobbs is going to Munich to save someone who is supposed to be her father from Dachau, which is outside of Munich. And she also has to find one of her friends who just abandoned her husband and infant just to go live her best life in Munich, or does she? So there's a lot of drama and a lot of action, and it's a pretty good story. So that's also on Hoopla. All of these are on Hoopla except Sherlock Holmes and the Beast of the Stapletons. So audiobook or ebook, check them out. Everyone was as good as the last. I would probably say Journey to Munich was like last place, but everything else is so good. Right. So this is a fairly short show today. Next week we're gonna have Miss Catherine on to talk about new children's books. And I think we're gonna have Summer on as our guest. Summer is one of our part-time clerks who loves to read. Untamed was one of her favorite books of 2020 as well. So I'm so excited to talk to her next week. But while we're in this week, we'll do a little of This Week in History. So In the Gown, it takes place in 1947, and in the aftermath of World War II, and they are still dealing with ration cards and clothing coupons and they're still having a rough go of it after that. So I found out that this week in history in 1940, Great Britain starts their food rationing. And they introduced it using ration books containing coupons for bacon, butter, and sugar. Shortly after, tea, jam, biscuits, breakfast cereals, cheese, eggs, milk, and canned fruit rationing were then introduced. Later, as the war continued, many more items of both food and non-food items were introduced, including meat, petrol, clothes, tea, and even soap were rationed. And in the book, they also talk about coal as well. So it's a fun little tie-in. But there's still so much time to read The Gown and join us on January 26th at 7 p.m. There's an event in Facebook, and then it's also on our website, the Zoom information for that. So I hope you loved it. Even if you don't read it this month and you've already read it, join us, tell us about how much you loved it. But I think that's it. Happy New Year, everybody. We're keeping our fingers crossed for 2021. And there are so many more new books that are coming out, and we just couldn't be more excited. All right, have a great weekend, and we'll see you all next week. Bye.